Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Sabrina Scott podcast, where I talk all about how to claim your magic and change your life. As always, I like to talk about love, life, healing, spirituality, witchcraft, magic, tarot, mediumship, and everything in between. As we are witches, as we are spiritual people, maybe you consider yourself a witch, maybe you are just dipping your toes in. It's all good either way. However you identify your spiritual practice, at the end of the day, yes, we are spiritual people, but of course we are also absolutely human beings, just doing our best out in this big, bad, crazy world, trying to survive, trying to live, trying to thrive, trying to learn. And so that is why on this show, you'll hear me talk about a lot of stuff that isn't just the typical how to do spirituality type of stuff that you might hear on other podcasts. I like to stay grounded in life and other things that are happening. So anyway, let's get down to it. Happy leap year, first of all. Happy leap day. Happy first Monday after leap day weekend. I spent the weekend reflecting on how far I've come since last leap year, 2020. It was a pretty insane time for me for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, we had the pandemic, but I also incorporated my business. And as y'all may or may not know, the day that Toronto, where I live, announced a state of emergency, that was the same day that I had a colposcopy appointment and got told that I had low-grade precancer cells. So I was basically on the street corner bawling my eyes out, thinking if the COVID doesn't kill me, then maybe this other thing will, and the world is ending. And I just remember feeling so fucked up and hopeless at that juncture. But within a few weeks, I just remember picking myself up from that and having honestly one of the best years ever, despite some of those crazy things. And thinking back to that, it really puts in mind for me how quickly things can change, whether that is a medical diagnostic thing or whether it's something kind of chaotic and global like COVID. How quickly things can change for the worse, and also how quickly things can change for the better. 2020 was a massive year for my business and my self-concept and my psychological growth and my spiritual growth. There was a lot that happened that year for me that was a big catalyst, and I'm thinking a lot about how do I want this year to be a big catalyst in a similar way and maybe in an entirely new way. And so I hope that is something that is very present for all of you as we lean into this year of the dragon, this leap year, and as we have spring equinox waiting just around the corner. Pretty exciting. The weather here in Toronto is super warm. It's uncharacteristically 12 degrees Celsius, which is super warm. I've got all the windows open. I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts, if you can believe it, in the beginning of March. Totally crazy. And I'm feeling that refreshing vibe. In my membership and community this month for the March reads, every month I share what I'm reading and thinking about and listening to and watching. One of the books I shared, I'm not going to tell you which one it was. You guys got to join the membership to find out. But it talked a lot about decluttering. And no, it was not Marie Kondo's book. But it talked a lot about decluttering and moving things around. And after a whirlwind week where I thought I might be moving, I'm not moving, by the way, spoiler alert, it really inspired me to just begin to do a complete energetic overhaul of my place. And so I am clearing out clutter, getting rid of old stuff, doing a massive deep clean, and completely rearranging everything in my apartment, furniture, clothing, storage, just everything, in order to allow the energetic flow to be a little bit better. in my home, and I'm in no way done. I'm at that stage where there's massive piles of random crap in the middle of like every room and every hallway, and that noise was one of my cats trying to jump at a squirrel, which was behind the window, and slipping and knocking over some of the cleaning products that was on the windowsill. Gotta love it. Really hoping that last summer the cats had fleas because I think they were sitting on the windowsill, and the squirrels probably were on the other side of the windowsill at some point. So God help me with all of that. But anyway, I do feel like it's such a good time to do this deep refresh of our energy, go through all the stuff that we own and do a big clear out, whether that's giving stuff away, maybe donating it to people who are in need. Maybe we are going to give it to friends. Maybe we're going to do a yard sale. Maybe we're going to sell it online, whatever it is we need to do. But I do think that doing this refresh, moving all of our stuff around and really reconsidering how do we live within the space that we have, even if it's something as simple as making your bed face a different direction, that can be incredibly huge in terms of completely changing our energy, how we relate to our space, and also how we relate to our life. In addition to that, if we mix up the energy in our place, revitalize it, rejuvenate it, I find that often we can open ourselves up to new opportunities, things that might not have come our way if the energies were not aligned in such a particular serendipitous way. So that is something that's on my mind right now, and I do really encourage everyone to begin to spend some time on that stuff. I know it sounds very mundane and very boring and like, oh my God, why is Sabrina telling me to clean? Trust me, I don't really like cleaning when I think about it as a mundane, normal life type of thing. But you know what? When I think of cleaning as a magical, spiritual, energetic exercise to optimize the flow of energy in our space, then we can really begin to see it as a ritual, as a form of witchcraft and magic in and of itself. And I'll probably talk about this a little bit more in my membership community. But one of the things I'm really thinking about lately is how am I going to continue to cultivate intentional relationship with the spirits of my apartment and the spirits of my neighborhood and the spirits of my home. I feel like the last few years I've kind of had one foot in, one foot out, and always thinking about moving back downtown or switching things up or just moving somewhere different or whatever. And I feel like my apartment's feelings kind of got hurt by that. I feel like it could feel the vibes. And so instead of having this weird, like in and out, half in, half out energy, I'm deciding to recommit to this space, you know, because if I think about it in a dating context, obviously relating to our homes is a little bit different than relating to people in a dating context. If someone was in or out, I would just be like, well, then bye. That's kind of how I see things. And I kind of made me realize, okay, I need to just recommit to this space. I need to be all in. And I'm sure that once I do that, the space will also open itself up to me in a completely different way than it has in the past. And so I'm really excited to see how that ends up looking. And if anyone does have a bit of a contentious or complicated or not smooth relationship to your space, that is definitely something I would encourage you guys to think about and consider in terms of what are you going to be doing to work with that energy? Are you going to reset it? Are you going to work with it? What are you going to do? And I think right now is, honestly, it's the perfect time. At least up here in the Northern Hemisphere, we've got spring happening very, very soon. And just as a sneak peek, my monthly class inside my community membership, the Claim Your Magic membership and community, is going to be on spring equinox magic in particular. And I'm pretty sure I'm teaching it on the 16th. So that's 2 weeks from now, more or less. So you're going to want to join up before then if you want access to that class. I think it's going to be super, super, super fun. So what else do I want to talk about? So you guys might have noticed that I did not do the tarot for the week ahead on my YouTube last week. And I just want to talk a little bit about that and why that ended up happening. So you guys who have me on Instagram will know that I was pretty upset by that whole guy setting himself on fire thing. And I wasn't upset in a way that was coming from being triggered. I was upset just because I was upset. Not that there's anything wrong with being triggered, but for me, it wasn't a reaction in such a way where, okay, I'm triggered by this. The problem here is my reaction. I'm overreacting to something because of my own trauma. Like, that tends to be what a trigger is. But that wasn't really what was happening. I think I was justifiably disturbed and justifiably upset. And I think my reaction was directly proportional to the horror of what happened. And so, therefore, for me, that is not actually what a trigger is. A trigger is different, as I've just explained. And so, I think it was just me being upset, and I really just couldn't read. I couldn't do tarot. I just couldn't. And the last time I'd felt that way was January 6th, back when there was that whole insurrection thing that happened in the United States. And even though I'm in Canada now, I found it deeply upsetting. I grew up in the States. I spent half my life there, and it will always be part of me and who I am, no matter where I live. Like, I do feel a big kinship with my American folks, and that will never change, I don't think. And so that really upset me. And I remember when that happened, I rescheduled all of my clients that day, and I just watched the horror unfold on the news, and I just couldn't really function. I was just in a state of shock. And with the fire situation, which, you know, I'm not really gonna get too into it, but with that, I was upset for similar reasons. It was just so horrifying to me, like this celebration of something that is so horrible in any sane world. And it does disturb me, like, not to get on a soapbox or anything, but it does really disturb me that we're in this era where people are happy to celebrate self-harm in this extreme way for the sake of politics. Like, for me, that shows a very diseased and a very sick, mentally sick culture. And I'm really disturbed by it. And I'm disturbed that it is largely, if not exclusively, coming from the far left, which is a space that I used to call my political home. And as I've moved further away from the far left, I've had a lot of clients, a lot of students, a lot of people in my audience step away and call me names, try to cancel me. Some people have been nicer than others, and they're stepping away, and everyone's able to do whatever they want. That's totally fine. Like, maybe we're not aligned anymore, and that's cool. But it is very interesting to me to observe this increasing radicalization of the left and the far left when it comes to American politics and North American politics. And in my opinion, any political system, group, or ideology that is supportive of self-harm is not anything that I can endorse, and it's not anything that I would ever be a part of. I'm just not okay with that. And if anyone is listening to this and you're struggling with, you know, thoughts of harming yourself, please seek help. Please talk to your friends. If it's safe to do so, please talk to your family. Please reach out to a therapist. Please reach out to someone who can get you grounded again and get you back down to earth and get you back to yourself. For me, talking about spirituality, talking about politics, talking about life, I am very motivated by life, joy, and yes, living life despite hardship, despite any horrors that we might witness in the world at large or in our own families. There's a lot of horrors that I have survived, and yet I am still here, and I'm very proud to still be here. And I know I'm not the only one who's experienced a wide variety of horrors. And I personally believe the world is a better place because I am still here. And I also believe that the world is a better place when anyone decides to live and move towards life, as opposed to moving towards death. In my Magic Without Bullshit course, I talk a lot about religion and ideology and cosmology, and I'm not going to give all the spoilers for the course here, but one thing I will say is one of the things I talk about in the course is this distinction between a world rejecting religion and a world embracing religion. And one of the things I've noticed about leftist politics these days is this movement towards world rejecting. You know, it is this space where death is the way. It's like glory through death only. It denies people's liveliness. And it, in some cases, says that to live is immoral. And that is just not any religion or ideology that I ever, want to be about. And obviously there's world-rejecting religions that, if people practice them, I'm like, go do you, that's all good. But what I'm talking about here is this extremism that does come from that world-rejecting place. Obviously, world-embracing religions or ideologies can also have their extremisms, right? Which we see with this excessive hedonism and libertarianism when it's taken to its most extreme degree. I think everything does have this potential for extremism, right? So there's that to be aware of. But it just disturbs me, right? As someone who is so much more interested in life, being alive, and encouraging others to be alive and to be authentic and to embrace the beauty of vitality, to listen more deeply to the heartbeat of the universe and to wonder what else can be, what else is possible, and how we might claim that and embrace that for ourselves, even when everything might feel hopeless. And so it makes me very sad when I see this widespread celebration of extreme self-harm by people who I otherwise thought were intelligent, rational people whose lives were dedicated to caring for others. And it's just the opposite of that. It's incredibly disturbing. And I just hope that we can all think about this and, reflect on it all and just make that decision to stay alive and to stay committed to growth. Even when things are hard and even when we are witness to things that we find disturbing. I really don't think self-harm is ever the answer. And I do think that whoever engages in that, regardless of whether it's due to personal psychology at home or political ideology, either way, it's not good. And as a part of my PhD, I've done way too much reading on cults and cult psychology. And the psychology within an abusive family is very, very similar to the psychology within a cult or a high demand group. And that is an echo of what I'm seeing with all of this, right? If you think back to Jim Jones and Jonestown in Guyana, the mass drinking of the Kool-Aid, and we all know what happened then. If you don't know, please Google it. But that is the extreme end of what happens when there is this kind of thoughtless adherence to this ideology, extreme ideologies, this glorification of death, and it becomes a death cult. And I just, for anyone who is in there, please get out. Please use your brain, please. And for anyone who is also disturbed by this stuff, who's also thinking about it and who is wondering, what the fuck do I do now? My advice, I suppose, if I have any, due to this week of contemplation and silence and just going inwards and thinking about all of this, is to just become even more present in the physical, become even more present in feeling what is. This is often said as an insult on the internet, and I don't mean it that way, but go touch grass. Go touch grass, touch sand, touch rocks, touch, tree bark. Get outside. The ideology that we see all over the internet is not the be-all, end-all of humanity. It just isn't. It's a very small subset. And when we do spend so much time online, and online is so beautiful because we can use it as this way to connect with other people. And I love that. I've always loved online for that. But it has this limitation where sometimes people who are very online forget that there is a world outside of that and become so entrenched in this radicalism. So get outside, turn off the internet, read a book, a full-on book, and step away from this extremism. And it just really disturbs me, the fast-paced nature of the extremism that we're seeing. That person who set himself on fire, his social media, he asked what anarchism was only 1 year ago, and then today he is in the ground. That is a very quick radicalization. That is a very quick movement from what is anarchism to now I'm dead. Like, that is very insane to me. And as we're talking, to bring it back to what I like to talk about here, claiming our magic, changing our life, that is the worst way that we can change our life, right? Is to become closed-minded, narrow-minded, steeped in this ideology, and we can't really see how trapped we are. And then for some people, it just becomes too late to save them, and it's very unfortunate. So in my book, Curse and Cure Magic for Real Life, which I released, when did I release that? I think I released it in 2022 in September, I'm pretty sure. And there's a bit in there's a chapter called Connecting with Humans. And if you haven't read the book, go check it out. But I list on there a bunch of warning signs for like cults and high demand groups and just unhealthy interpersonal dynamics. And so if you are worried about getting sucked into something, do go give that chapter of Curse and Cure, my book, a read, and just reflect on the spaces that you're in, whatever kind of community spaces that you're in, whether that's witchy, whether that's political. And I used to complain a little bit about witchy communities, but honestly, I think these days what is much worse of an offender is the political communities with the political ideologies. So go read that chapter of my book and see if you can't reflect on the spaces that you're in, the people that you know. How is disagreement dealt with in your communities? How is multiple viewpoints dealt with in your communities? How do you respond to multiple viewpoints? And I'm not saying that all viewpoints are equally scholarly or equally cited or equally whatever, but I do think it is important to at least be willing to turn over the rocks in the side of the room that we never go. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I've talked for long enough. Happy Monday. I hope you guys are all doing wonderful. And with the link in this podcast description, you can see all of my links. I'm just going to put them all in one link. If you don't have my 13 top witchy books list, there's a link to grab that. I also have a link to download 4 easy breezy tarot spreads. I'm not the biggest fan of tarot spreads, but if you have a hard time creating some of your own, that will get you started. And of course, there'll be a link to learn more about my community and my membership, the Claim Your Magic community and membership, where I'll be teaching all about spring equinox magic coming up later this month. Okay, friends, that is all for now. Much love. I hope to see you guys on YouTube tomorrow for my tarot for the week ahead, and I'll also do probably some tarot for last week as well, just to get us all caught up. Okay, friends, much love, much kisses. Hope everyone is doing good and enjoying this lovely start to the month of March. Bye, everyone.